There's a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Dim.
Students and scholars, friends and relations, welcome to the Brothers Dim podcast, a podcast in which we have a look-see at one of the tales written down by the Brothers Grimm in the early 1800s in Germany, including this week's tale, story number 65, Thousandfurs. My name is Phil.
Yeah, my name is Mike.
Mike, how are you now?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm good. Dark times and all. A bunch of goddamn Nazis around and about.
So yeah.
Yeah, the rumors that you've heard ring true. Suitable then that we're delving into a story which gets really dark really quick. Do you have a grade?
Oh, this one was weird. I feel like I want to go with like a safe B, but I don't know.
BC, somewhere in the middle, if not that.
It's got some renown to it.
It does,
but I think that's for a specific reason.
Yeah, which is already touched upon in other stories as well.
Yeah,
and we can get into that, but it's almost like late Simpsons. It reminds me of. This is why I'm going to give it a C.
Yeah,
where it just and something that the Brothers Grimm tend to do is something that you bring up a lot. We need this character to be in a certain area. So the first part of the story is just how do we get that person there, and this one just takes so long to get to the point of where they want her to be for the next part of the story to begin. So for stories that generally have such a succinct economy of words, this one just, I mean, it's a short story too. It's like 2 pages long and it's still.
Yeah, but it's in the middle of a bunch of stories that are 3/4 of a page long.
Well, let's get into it then. And I'm going to go through the plot, if you don't mind, of story number 65, Thousandfurs, and we'll see if it is, maybe we can zero in on if we want to C or a B.
Yeah. I'm curious what your take is on it and your interpretation, because it gets a little muddy in there too.
I'm not sure that muddy even begins to describe it, but here we go with Grimm story number 65, Thousandfurs. Once upon a time, there is a king, a queen, and their daughter, the princess. Queen up and dies, but before she shuffles off the mortal coil, she tells the king, okay, you can remarry, but only if you remarry someone as hot as or hotter than me. King says, okay. Pokes around the town a little bit, doesn't see anyone super hot until a few years pass. Then he starts looking over at his daughter, realizes that she and she alone is as hot as his old wife, and he should marry his daughter. And actually surprising to me, like everyone around him thinks this is a bad idea. They all tell him, so they're like, oh man, no, my liege.
Sir.
Gross. Yeah, I don't think this is not a good idea.
This isn't gonna play well in the papers, sir.
It's not. No one is gonna like this, but no
especially
matter
your daughter.
Yeah, no matter. King says, well, I'm the king, I'm going to marry my daughter. Princess obviously wants nothing to do with this, so she gives him what she thinks is an impossible task, but actually upon reflection, not that difficult. She asks for 3 dresses, one as golden as the sun, one silver as the moon, one bright as the stars, and also a fur coat made up of a bit of fur from each of the animals in the kingdom. A 1,000 fur coat, if you will. And unlike other stories where a peasant or what have you needs to gather 1,000 acorns from the Black Forest before dawn, there's no time limit. It's just 3 dresses and a fur coat.
Yep.
And
take your time.
He doesn't even need to make them. He's the king, so he just orders, he just goes into town. He just goes to the tailor.
What do you got?
Orders the 3 dresses and then makes some hunters go get the furs and then back to the tailor to stitch all those together into a coat or a cloak. I think, I forget what they call it, a mantle.
Can you imagine being the tailor, though? Like the king walks in one day. It's like, oh, sir, my liege.
Need some dresses for the princess. Oh, how's she doing?
I need a dress as bright as the stars. Sir, I'm not sure what you mean. As bright as the stars, man.
As bright as the stars, and then I'll be able to have sex with my daughter. Gross. But okay, you're the king.
Can you define bright?
Yes.
Anyway.
Yellow. The princess realizes the flaw in her plan, so decides to just put a bunch of stuff in a sack and run off into the night. She grabs the dresses, a ring, some other stuff, throws on the fur coat. Off she goes, runs until dawn. Finally getting tired and doing something which is not that uncommon in Germany, apparently. She climbs a tree and takes a nap up there. And that's the last we see of or hear about Dad.
You know why? Because as we uncovered recently, there are lions everywhere in the forest of Germany.
Wolves and shit. Or just, no one had phones. Like if you did not need to go very far before
Nobody ever sees you
before
again.
no one ever sees you again. 2 towns over. Then again, that was happening not that long ago in the US too, but I digress. Let's get back into this.
Yeah.
Prince is in another area of the forest, and a different king is out hunting. Got some dogs with him. Dogs realize something's up the tree. She gets brought down. She's all covered in soot, sticky, wearing this fur thing. She asks for mercy. The king takes pity on her and looks at her and she's like, ugh, geez, all right, yeah. You know what? Come on, girl, you can come work in my kitchens. So a couple of years pass. She's working in the kitchens. One day, the king decides to throw a ball, and Thousandfurs, I guess, or Allerleiro. Allerleiro?
Alaliro. I had to look this one up.
Okay. Allerleiro, Thousandfurs. This is the name of the princess. She asks the head cook if she can sneak off and watch the ball. The head cook says, fine, just be back in a little bit because you still have to make some soup. Yeah, they cook the king's dinner. So she goes off, though. She cleans up, wears the golden dress, goes to the ball, sneaks in. She dances with the king. A fun time's had by all. King is quite enthralled with her, but she has to slip away. Can't tell you where, though. Cinderella-esquely vanishes into the night, and then we have kind of a little game. She cooks a delicious soup for the king. She gets herself all sooty again, puts the ring in the soup for reasons left unsaid. Dinner time for the king, and the king says, first of all, the soup is delicious. This is amazing. Bring me the person that made the soup. And Thousandfurs, now back in her rags, says, I don't know. I'm just, don't worry about me. I'm no one. The king says, okay. King has another ball, which the girl attends, this time in the silver dress, like the moon, and then a third one where she wears the star dress. And each time she's supposed to sneak back to the kitchen. This third time, though, the king keeps her a little extra longer by dancing with her and then slips the ring on her finger that she had given him in the first go round. She doesn't notice, and then she has to run back to cook his soup, but not enough time to take off the dress and just put the fur on. She just throws the fur on over her dress. King then comes to the kitchens. He sees her skin still white and notices that the ring is on her finger, throws off the cloak. There's the girl wearing the dress, and then they get married and live quite happily ever after. The end.
Takes off the glasses, and she's been attractive all along.
Mike, do you have any thoughts? I'm guessing you do, especially if your thoughts may deal with the ATU type, which is 510B, unnatural love. The love, the sort of bad love between a dad and his daughter.
That's a gentle way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, just right out there, like the first paragraph. I had not come across the wording of the ATU type, but that's gently put.
Yeah.
But he definitely wants to marry his daughter.
Drinking out of lead goblets. Whatever else.
Yeah,
Maybe just
a lot of lead goblets, a lot of lead pipes.
It's weird how quickly it comes on. And they don't say the father was going crazy, but that it seemed fairly normal, or at least for a little while. And then he was married quite happily with his wife. Doesn't find anyone hot. He
mourned for a while, and then he was like, he was playing the field a little bit, but nobody could compare to the impossible task that his former wife had set up for him.
Yeah, boy.
Which is not an entirely fair promise either.
No. Although, but a good one.
You're dying. You're dying.
Just if you do marry someone, just make sure she's hot. That's kind of sweet in a way.
Yeah.
I want you to be happy, and I know you like hot girls. You're not going to be happy with an uggo. The people in the kingdom will laugh at you, and then the daughter's never going to get a fair shake because she's got a father who people laugh at.
Needs somebody loving who can marry her too.
I was looking up a bunch of stuff about this. More modern tales try to this first bit. There's 2 bits, right? There's 2 very different stories, but by making the girl the stepdaughter. So it's still super gross, right? But it's not actually incest. Like you can get away with what was I don't know. Sweeney Todd had that as a story arc, right?
You know what? I've never seen Sweeney Todd.
Oh, okay.
Or read it.
Real quick then, an evil judge who lusted after Sweeney Todd's wife rapes her and then has Sweeney Todd arrested and sent away. And then it gets complicated, but the judge ends up raising Sweeney Todd's daughter as a ward, and when she's hot enough, proposes marriage. But she doesn't want to marry him. And then at one point they're like, and then I think everyone gets put into pies in the end.
Good times.
Exactly right. That said, plenty of worse ones too. There was a book in 93 called Deerskin, in which it's pretty much the exact same thing that plays out, except that there's an extra scene before she escapes where the king just rapes her once.
Oh, let's just make sure we get that in there. I mean, she needed a real reason to have to leave, right?
Oh yeah. I guess, yeah, the fear of it wasn't enough.
Oh boy.
Someone named Jane Yolen entitled Allerleirauh.
Allerleirauh.
Allerleirauh. The king marries his daughter, who's been emotionally neglected by her father, and misunderstands the king's intentions towards her. Didn't know what was going to happen. Gets pregnant. And then, like her mother, the daughter dies in childbirth. And so the end of the story suggests that now the granddaughter is going to suffer the same fate. When
oh
she
my God.
Like, just
wow.
double down. What if
I mean, how many times? How many generations can you do that? Really?
Well, when does the girl flower?
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, I know.
I read another version. This might have just been sort of a blog posting and not a published version or an old one even.
Okay.
But it goes through the whole thing, and then at the end, when she's marrying the new king, the nice guy, ish. Questions about that.
Maybe, yeah.
Her father comes to attend the wedding because it's this big affair and all the royalty come, and he's another king. And so he explains the situation to the guy that she's marrying, and he's like, "Wait, you didn't tell me you were promised to another," and just like sends her off back home with her father, where she's like well received because she's obeying. And it was just like, wow, that was just fucking dark.
Jesus, yeah, you hear stories like that of just people that they finally escape. They get to who's that? I think this happened to Jeffrey Dahmer, right? This person escaped Jeffrey Dahmer. Like they were naked, they were running through the streets, and the cops saw him. And this guy was like saying like, "Oh my God, thank God, like save me! He's just fucking murderer is gonna eat me or some shit." And Jeffrey Dahmer just went up to the cops. He's like, "Hey, this guy's crazy. He's drunk. You better give him back to me."
Oh shit!
Like, all right,
really?
off you go.
I thought I'd heard that story. That was like the last guy that Dahmer had captured, and like that was the end of it. But I guess I heard the sanitized version.
Second to the last one.
Oh God, poor dude. Oh, that sucks.
I think my knowledge is limited to he definitely killed a bunch of dudes and ate them.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm not 100%. But you hear about that a lot. You go to the cops and then they just bring you home to an abusive parent.
Oh yeah, or spouse, yeah.
Oh,
yep.
That too. Jesus, yeah. Something we were talking about a little earlier, where the entire first page of a story, which was only 2.5 pages long, is just getting her to the point where she owns 3 dresses, a cloak, and a golden ring, and then and then just gets lost in a different land. Like it took so long, and it was such a weird conceit.
It didn't have to be incest.
She had to flee. Yeah, like that. You just there's a million ways you could have had her just run off.
So it's funny. So I went out to dinner with the family tonight, and I was telling this story, and so there were a lot of humorous things, but like one of the things we were talking about is like, you know how you and I often joke about how like the brothers hearing these stories, like if it's in the tavern locally, and it's just like, the more insane the story, the drunker the person is telling it. Yeah. And so it's like the ones we had one recently that was like 5 stories stapled together that made no sense. And it was last call guy who just like, buy me another beer and I'll tell you the whole thing.
Yeah.
With this one, they're like, all right, so what we needed to do is we need to get this girl with 3 dresses and a ring and this cloak. Does it have to be incense? And the first person's like, I mean, that's how it was told to me. I don't know. I mean, you can do with it what you want. And they're like, yeah, it's good enough.
I'm not saying that that's exactly what happened. I'm just saying that when I heard the story the first time, this is a couple towns over, that the king wanted to have sex with the daughter.
I've heard it without incest, and it's not as powerful. It doesn't make any sense.
He's pretty pervy.
I mean, why else would a woman want to run away?
It's based on a true story if you really want to know.
Yeah, you know King Jimmy 2 towns over.
You know what happened is there's a bunch of French people. This is actually what happened in France. And they're like, oh, yes. No, that makes a lot of sense.
It's all the French.
We drink urine and we eat babies and we marry our daughters. We must be French.
As a reminder to new listeners, this was right around the time when Germany was still more or less under French occupation, and the French
true. Yeah.
French were no good.
I saw there was a bunch of different stories, too, where it was just her hand was promised some douchebag or an ogre. Yeah. And we just then have a runaway bride situation. I feel you could get there, but maybe the reason that this one stuck around as long as it did was the shock value.
But then you got to wonder, like, how often when you actually see an ogre in a story, is it coded for an incestuous father?
Could be.
Not that I want to make this any darker.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. good for her getting out of the incest with her dad situation, but
Yeah.
I digress. Mike, I heard tell through the grapevine that you might have your very own Hollywood pitch.
Believe it or not, I do.
Okay,
Not Hollywood, though.
Well, okay.
This is more like Shonen Jump.
Oh, boy. All right. Please, by all means.
So a couple of things up top. First of all, caveat. I am definitely a white guy making assumptions and generalizations about a culture I know fairly little about, and do not intend to imply preconceptions about any kind of cultures. It just worked out for this particular culture. Just going to put that up top. Anyway.
No, absolutely. Understood.
Also, in the last few years, I've been doing a fair amount of manga reading, and sometimes darker ones too. Like this wasn't manga, but it was a Japanese horror story. It was like a little novelette called Nothing But Blackened Teeth, which was really good.
Okay.
And right now I'm in the middle of reading this manga, which is called The Girl from the Other Side, which is not like horror, but it's definitely like supernatural, creepy kind of stuff, but also very cute. Anyway, so I've had that stuff in the mind. So this is a straight up dark horror manga. It's a story of a girl in medieval feudal Japan. She's the daughter of a daimyo, which is sort of the noble of the region. Her mother dies, and her father is driven mad with sorrow, decides he's going to marry the daughter in her place. No one around him dares to challenge this claim because he's the noble of the land. She begs him to reconsider, but he refuses. To try and put him off, she asks that he provide her with the most intricate bridal kimono in the land and the finest robe made from the fur of 1,000 foxes.
Okay.
He agrees. He orders his men to obtain the items. However, he knows that these are impossible to make. Without her knowing, he orders the kimono to be as elegant as it can be made in like 2 weeks. Tells the guy who's going to make the robe, he says, you know what? We don't need 1,000 foxes. Just go for like 9. So the shortcut work is indeed completed in the allotted 2 weeks or so. Presented to the daimyo, who in turn presents them as wedding gifts to his daughter. Knowing that she has no options left, she agrees. The night before the wedding is to happen, with no other options, she plans to dress in the wedding kimono and the robe and commit seppuku, which is sort of like self-disemboweling harakiri. However, as soon as the blade makes contact with her skin, she's suddenly transformed into a kitsune, which is a 9-tailed vixen goddess, like fox spirit, with terrifying power. So that night, in her new form, she walks the halls of the manor house, methodically slaughtering all those who had looked the other way while her father had made his plans.
Awesome.
Finally, she reaches the chambers of her father. She enters, she tortures him for hours before leaving him alive, grotesque and powerless, but alive. Sort of just, left to consider his choices in life.
To the pain.
Yes, exactly. She then leaves. She, roaming the land to punish other men who would abuse their power to take advantage of girls.
Okay.
By day, she's a gorgeous, irresistible woman who slowly makes her way into the trust of powerful and terrible men. And by night, she can transform into the kitsune and destroy them as she pleases.
Metal. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
I like a good revenge story.
But I like in cutting the corners, specifically like a 9-tailed fox is a very common spiritual figure. And I like in that his cutting corners of, we don't need 1,000 foxes. We just need 9. Like that's the magic that put all this thing together, that created this being that just, destroys him.
I think it sounds fantastic. I would read that.
Nice.
I'd very happily do so.
Unfortunately, I can't draw.
Oh, yeah. See, you find someone that can, and then that's how that whole thing works.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have anything else?
I don't. Do you?
No, I do not. So if you don't have anything else, I don't have anything else. I think we can call it. Mike, are there places where people can find us if they were looking for us?
Oh, there are. First and foremost, you can always find us at brothersdim.com. Contact info there, but you can always get us at brothersdimpodcast@gmail.com and on Blue Sky at brothersdim.
Wonderful. Well, I would love to also remind you to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like listening to our nonsense, please share and enjoy the Brothers Dim with all your friends. And to all of our friends and relations, thank you for listening. Sleep tight, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.